Are we heading into a recession in 2024? Is the real estate market about to crash? Should I be afraid of losing my job? These are all the questions I'm being asked. As a matter of fact, I'm being asked these questions more frequently over the last 2 months than I've been asked over the last 2 years. So, who am I? Well, my name is Kareem. I'm a real estate broker and investor here in Dallas, Fort Worth. And I've been away for quite some time, and it's been super, super busy. I've had a new tenant moving in the beginning of July. Just got that taken care of for my rental. I have a client who we got this property in Oak Cliff on the contract, and it was a rehab or a flip. We had to do some hard-nosed negotiating to make sure that they're able to fix what needs to be fixed. But in addition to that, man, I've just been super duper busy, working so hard, and I haven't been able to stream like I want. But I am back, and I'm back today just to share some valuable information. One thing I want to say right off the bat is that I'm starting to see a lot of fear out there. We have buyers scared to buy because they're concerned that they may lose their jobs. Okay, rightfully so. But now we have sellers scared to sell because all the rates are still high and homes are sitting on the market. And the longer that homes sit on the market, that gives the ability for inventory to rise. And then, of course, the sellers lose their bargaining power. So essentially, what we have right now, we have a lot of paralysis going on. So this video will provide information on data that can be used to gauge the economy and, kind of help you guys predict what's to come. So in turn, this will help you, the viewer, make smarter financial decisions. So everyone keep your eyes and ears glued in and come grab this free game to stay informed. We're breaking this down into 4 parts. So the first part is going to be economic indicators. Then we're going to talk about job market trends, i.e. the JOLTS report. We're also going to discuss the real estate June 2024 housing report. And lastly, we're going to talk about consumer confidence. One thing I want to stress right off the bat, consumer confidence is very, very important. And the reason why it's so important is because 70% of our GDP is made up of consumer spending. So if consumer confidence is low, consumers won't spend money. And when consumers stop spending money, that have drastic negative consequences on the overall economy. We're going to jump right into the first segment, which is economic indicators. So now some of you may ask, what are economic indicators and why are they important? Well, let's talk about it. So an economic indicator is basically a piece of data. Not just any data, but economic data, which of course is in the name, economic indicator. So this data or economic data is usually of macroeconomics. Now you have macro, which means large, micro, which means small. So macroeconomic data is usually data encompassing the entire country, large scale. That is used by analysts, CEOs, regular consumers such as you, me. And we use this information basically to interpret current and future investment possibilities. So in this video, we're going to talk about 3 economic indicators. The first will be CPI or Consumer Price Index. The second will be Gross Domestic Product or GDP. And the third will be the unemployment rate. Okay, so jumping right into it, let me go ahead and share my screen. Bam. So what we have here is the Department of Labor. And this is basically the last print for our CPI. So now what is CPI? First it's an acronym, Consumer Price Index. But what is that? So the Consumer Price Index is basically a measure of the average change over time in prices paid by consumers for goods and services. We're going to bypass this and we're going to go right here. Let me highlight this for you guys. Over the last 12 months, the all items index increased 3% before seasonal adjustment. So that means from June 2023 to June 2024, there's an average. As an average, the prices increased 3%. Okay. Now you may say, okay, 3%, that's not bad because the Federal Reserve targets 2%. However, however, this is one of the lowest inflation prints or CPI prints that we've had over the last 12 months. And if one month you have 3%, but the month before that you had 3.5, and the month before that you had 4, and the month before that you had 6, and the month before that you had 8. All these CPI prints, these increases in prices over time are compounding. So over 1 month, it may look, oh, it's only 3% or maybe only 4%. But if you add that or compound that over 12 months, that's a lot of price increases. Hence, that's why we're dealing with the inflation that we're dealing with now. As it stands right now, our CPI reading is good. But when you take it over the last 12 months, it's not good because we have had month over month over month of consistent high CPI prints. So, okay, that's CPI. So the next thing we're going to talk about is called gross domestic product or GDP. GDP or gross domestic product is a comprehensive measure of US economic activity. So the GDP measures the value of the goods and services produced here in the United States. So, in a nutshell, if your GDP is high, that means, okay, economically, your country's doing good. And if your GDP is low, then that means you're probably not doing so well. You're probably not doing so well. So, let's get into it. So, this right here, we have our GDP, Thursday, July 25th. Okay, we're just a few days after this. And it says, let me zoom in. Let's go ahead and zoom in. Make sure you guys can read this. There we go. Okay. So it says real gross domestic product increased at an annual rate of 2.8% in the second quarter of 2024. In the first quarter, real GDP increased 1.4%. So now, one thing that I do want to stress when they say real or adjusted or nominal, you got to realize that this GDP, if it's just nominal, it doesn't take into account inflation. So let's say, for an example, the country had a GDP print of 2% per quarter. So 2 times 4, that means, okay, over the year, we had 8% GDP. That means that the country grew 8% of economic growth. Excellent. But what happens if each one of those quarters we had, I don't know, 2.5 or 3% inflation? So when we account for inflation, that would give us the real GDP print. And if that's the case, then that means we actually will have a negative GDP. And that means the overall economy or the overall economic health of the country is not doing good. So far, we have CPI, we have GDP. And the last one that we're going to talk about for the economic, one of the economic indicators is going to be unemployment. So now the unemployment is pretty much, this one should be basically self-explanatory, but we're going to go over it anyway. So let me bring the graph up so you guys can see what I'm saying. Okay. So this is the Federal Reserve economic data, the Fred chart. And this basically talks about the unemployment rate over the last, what are we talking, 70 years. So as of right now, June 2024, we have an unemployment rate of 4.1%. Now, what is the unemployment rate? And this definition is going to be very, very important because a lot of people get this misconstrued. So the unemployment rate represents the number of unemployed people as a percentage of the labor force. Now, the labor force is the sum of the employed and the unemployed. However, it's a lot of people always say, hey, this unemployment rate is artificially low. Now, why do they say that? The reason why they say that is because you are only counted in this unemployment rate if you are looking for work. So, for an example, theoretically, let's say I was an individual who was looking for, I didn't have a job. And after searching 6 months for a job, I said, you know what? I'm just going to go live in my mom's basement. Even though I'm unemployed, I wouldn't be included in this rate because I'm not actively searching for employment. So that is one of the reasons why a lot of people feel that this unemployment rate is unofficially low or artificially low. I'll say that. That's one of the reasons why a lot of people think this is artificially low. So, as a review for our economic indicators, we reviewed CPI, we reviewed GDP, we also reviewed the unemployment rate. So, if ever you guys are thinking, hey, well, what is some of the information I should look at, or what are some of the data I should research about? Let's start with some of the economic indicators, which include the CPI, GDP, and the unemployment rate. So the next segment we're going to talk about is the job market, or i.e. the JOLTS report. So the JOLTS report is literally just an acronym for the Job Openings and Labor Turnover Survey. So this survey or this program produces data on job openings, hires, and separations. Now, why do we look at the JOLTS report? We look at the JOLTS report to see how the labor market is faring. Because one thing we can all agree on is during an economic downturn or recession, job openings decrease and layoffs increase. So let's see what we have here. Okay, so we're back. And make sure you guys remember these websites. U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics. It's very important. Very, very important. So let's see if we can zoom in here. There we go. Excellent. Okay, so we have job openings, hires, and separations, rates seasonally adjusted. So one thing that I want to talk about that, just looking at this graph here, you see this right here? This is the job openings line. And if I'm looking at the job openings line, and let's say from January 2021, total non-farm job openings, 4.8%. But as you can see, we went up. And then we plateaued a little bit, but then we kept going up. We kept going up until we got to about March 2022. From March 2022, we kind of been on a downturn. So from March 2022 all the way to May 2024. So I'm not a psychic, but if I'm looking at this data, looking at this trend, the job openings are decreasing. So again, taking this information in totality with everything else that we've spoken about, if job openings are decreasing and then we have separations increasing, that's something I definitely want to be aware of. Okay, so total non-farm separations. Okay, so let's see where we were. So December 2023, 3.4%. January, it ticked up a bit, 3.5, 3.5, 3.4, went down. So about 3.4. Okay, total separations for the most part is pretty close. But if you look here, where were we? March 2022 again. You see 4.1, and it's been hovering low fours, high threes, going down to mid threes. So just something to look out for. Okay. Okay. So we spoke about economic indicators. We reviewed the JOLTS report. Now, the third thing we're going to review is this right here. And this is going to be the June 2024 housing market report. Okay, let me pull this up for you guys. Bam. Okay, North Texas Real Estate Information System, monthly MLS summary report, June 2024. So this information is available to the public, and it's supremely important because it gives hard sales data on a real estate market here within Texas. So let's go ahead and zoom into this. Okay. All right, here we go. Bam. So here we go. Dallas, Fort Worth, Arlington, metropolitan statistical area. So the main thing I want to focus on is this right here. This right here. Real estate residential sales, single family residence. So this is sales. We had 7,734 sales. Okay. And this is in the month of June 2024. So year over year, we had 11% decrease in sales. And these are just the number of homes that sold. So we had 11% decrease in a number of sales. We had 11% decrease in the dollar volume of those sales. Now the average price is the same. The median price is still the same. Okay. So again, this entire report is open to the public. However, if I'm trying to decide if the economy is about to go into a recession or if we're not doing well economically, these are the things I'm going to be looking at, specifically because the housing market is a large part of the general economy. And as the housing market goes, usually the general economy goes. So if we have less people buying homes for whatever reason, remember 70% of our GDP is consumer spending, and we have less people buying homes, which is usually the largest single purchase most people make in their lives. Generally, in my opinion, that's not going to be good for the economy. So, and again, this is Dallas Fort Worth. This is where I'm located, so this is what I'm focusing on. Okay, let's get right here. So residential sales, single family residence, the average price per square foot actually went up 1% year over year. Same thing with the median price per square foot. But however, look at this. Days on market, 44 days, year over year increase 7%. Ooh, sold to list price, 96.7%. So that means houses are sitting on the market longer, 7% longer than last year. And also, list price, 3 years ago, list price used to just be the starting bid of the auction. So if I list this house at 500,000, I'm probably expecting to close anywhere between 650 and 675. But here we are, 96.7% to list price, sold to list price. So that means houses are selling under list price. And again, when we're looking at all this information, we are just trying to figure out, okay, well, how is the housing market doing here, specifically in Dallas, Fort Worth? So let's keep on going. So down here, Residential sales, single family residence, pending sales, 7,146, 11% decrease year over year. Ooh. New listings, 2% year over year increase. So again, sometimes some people may look at this information and say, oh, this is good. We need more competition. We need more homes on the market. But some people may look at this as negative because this tells us, well, there's less homes that are pending and there's more homes that are being listed and they're not being sold. Active listings, 42% year over year increase. Woo. Yes. Yes. And again, guys, this is the June 2024 housing market report here for North Texas. So yeah, this MLS summary report for June 2024, guys, it goes on and on and on. But one of the main things that I observed from this report is the year over year information. We've seen, I wouldn't say drastic, but we've seen very noticeable decreases in year over year. We've also seen very noticeable increases in the amount of inventory. So again, as the housing market goes, usually that's how the economy goes. So we spoke about the economic indicators. We spoke about the JOLTS report or the job market trends. We just now finished talking about the real estate market for North Texas or Dallas, Texas for the month of June 2024. Now, the last thing we're going to talk about is the consumer confidence index. Okay, here we go. So this right here is a survey from the University of Michigan. And basically, a lot of people may ask, well, what's the consumer confidence index? So the consumer confidence index is a survey that's administered, and it measures what consumers are feeling about their expected financial situation and whether that's optimistic, which means it'll be higher, or pessimistic, which means it'll be lower. So the survey is based on the premise that if consumers are optimistic, they will spend more and stimulate the economy. But if they are pessimistic, then their spending patterns could lead to an economic slowdown or recession. And let's read this. So, Consumer Sentiment Health Study in June, this month's reading was a scant and statistically insignificant 0.9 index points below May and well within the margin of error. While consumers exhibited confidence that inflation will continue to moderate, many expressed, let me click on this, concerns about the effect of high prices and weakening incomes on their personal finances. So, if I expect high prices, that means I believe inflation is going to increase. But if I expect weakening incomes, that means, in my opinion, that either my income won't increase or I may lose my income. And that's not good. That's not good at all. So when I put everything that we've spoken about today together in totality, the economic indicators, those indicators do not look promising to me. When I look at the JOLTS report, that does not look promising to me either. When I look at the real estate market here in North Texas, Dallas-Fort Worth, it appears that properties are sitting longer and sales are declining from year over year. And lastly, when I look at the consumer confidence survey, consumers appear to be much more pessimistic. And as we stated, a pessimistic consumer will usually decrease their spending and that can lead to an economic slowdown or recession. A lot of information that we went over today. So I do want you guys to continue to educate yourselves, continue to read this data because this information is going to be very, very pertinent. And it's very crucial that you understand this data so that way you can make the best financial decisions that you can make. Now, on a side note, uh, one thing that I do want to discuss very briefly uh, is some feedback that I've been receiving in regards to my YouTube videos. So it seems I've been told over and over, Kareen, you have to post things that are interesting or entertaining. You have to make people laugh or you have to do something fun because like that's the only way to keep viewers engaged. And when I hear that, I'm like, I see so many people who come from where I come from struggling and it literally breaks my heart. And the one thing that I know that I can do to like help them and have an immense positive change on their lives is this. Now, I don't agree that everyone watching YouTube videos have short attention spans and I can't make educational content to engage viewers. You know, that's why I do what I do. So I plan to continue sharing this very important information and this very important content because I know people need it. So if I have to come on here and do foolishness or make people laugh to keep them engaged or to be successful in this whole YouTube thing, then I guess I'm going to fail. But nevertheless, I tremendously appreciate everyone that watched these videos, that subscribe to my channel, and who continues to support. So I do want to say thank you. I do this for you. Um, and as always, if this content is valuable to you or someone you know, hit that heart button, engage below, and spread the information to your friends and family. So this is Kareen with NewTX Realty, and until next time.